We've talked some about vectors, but now we want to fill in all the details so that we can use vectors more extensively in the future. So, as we've learned before, a vector is any quantity that has both a magnitude and a direction. So there are two parts to all vectors. So here's an example of a vector that could be a position or a displacement. This vector has a magnitude of 8 meters and the direction is 30 degrees measured clockwise from the negative x-axis. Now, the magnitude of a vector is always a positive number, or it can be 0. If you multiply a vector by -1, as we have seen, what that does is it reverses the direction. It doesn't change the magnitude, it simply reverses the direction. So if we took that vector A in the example and multiplied by -1, it would still have a magnitude of positive 8 meters. Again, the magnitude is always a strictly positive number. What's different is the direction is reversed. Now it's 30 degrees measured clockwise from the positive x-axis. We've already talked about how to add vectors, at least qualitatively, and that's often called adding vectors graphically because it involves using a picture. So here we have two vectors, and as we saw before, when you want to add them together, you basically make a chain of the arrows one after another. So we start with A, we draw B head to tail with A, again making a chain, and then the sum, as we saw before, goes from the beginning straight to the end. So this is exactly like we did before, and we also saw that you can add in the other order. We can draw B first and then A, and we can get exactly the same answer. Now, this technique of adding vectors graphically can be used for any number of vectors. It can be used for 2, 3, 10, 100 vectors. So let's take a look at an example that involves 3 vectors. So here are the 3 vectors we want to add together. So again, it doesn't matter what order we draw them in. We could start with A, we could draw in B, and then finally we could do C, and the sum is still going to be a vector that starts at the very beginning of the first one and runs in a straight line to the very end of the last one, like that. We also learned how to subtract vectors graphically by using a picture. So again, just a quick review. Here's A and B. In order to subtract them, we're actually going to construct A plus the negative of B and use the same technique that we already know for adding. So if B is down and to the right, negative B is up and to the left. So just like we did before, you can take A, negative B, put them end to end, head to tail, and then the difference, A minus B, is found by adding those two vectors together. And although you can add A and negative B in either order, you do have to be careful which vector you reverse. The vector that's reversed has to be the one that's being subtracted. A minus B and B minus A are in fact different vectors.